Hi, Joe Marks from Nextgov, back again at the Nextgov booth at the Management of Change Conference, and I'm here with Rick Holgate, Chief Information Officer of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And Rick, you spoke earlier at a mobility conference panel discussion, which is really interesting. One of the things you talked about was how mobile the ATF workforce is. And I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about the kinds of devices and apps they're using.
Sure. Yeah, and as I alluded to earlier, we are a workforce or an employee base of about 5,000 employees, about half of which are special agents, and about 600 to 700 of which are regulators, industry operations investigators, and then we have about another 600 to 700 who are just folks that do telework on an irregular basis or a regular basis. So the use cases there vary a little bit across those different populations. So clearly the special agents are interested in being out in the field and able to collect information and interact with information in as seamless and as mobile scenario as possible. And so what we have recently done with that particular population is swap out their BlackBerries for iPhones. And that's something that has been in the works for several months. We finally completed that in the last couple of weeks. And that's been something that they have found very positive in the sense of giving them better capabilities to get their job done while they're in the field. It's a very small form factor, very rich functionality, and so that's been a very positive development. What we're looking at next is for our regulator population, what's the right set of tools to give them and what's the right type of device to give them to get their job done. And for them, it's probably not going to be an iPhone, it's probably going to be an iPad. Because they have a little bit different use case where they're actually out in the field on site with regulated industry partners doing inspections and doing reviews of processes and that sort of thing and actually producing reports. And so they need a slightly different form factor to be able to do that usefully in the field. And so we're looking to do a pilot with them around exposing some of our case management systems on a tablet device that would allow them to interact with case management while they're on site with a regulated industry partner. And then for the other parts of our workforce who telework, we're also looking at allowing them to do some different types of telework that don't require us to necessarily give them a laptop. And that's been some encouraging work that we've been able to do there with virtualization and other types of capabilities where we can allow them to access ATF information and email and file shares and those types of things without actually giving them a laptop. So to the extent that we can do that for both our employees as well as some other contractors and task force officers and other kind of extensions of our workforce, that reduces some of the cost to the enterprise.
One of the other interesting things you said is that you're doing a bring your own device policy and you're not at the same time, depending on what the employee is. Can you describe that?
Really what I alluded to is that the technology that we've got lends itself well to a bring your own device kind of scenario. We haven't fully adopted that yet, but it's the same basic set of technology that other federal agencies are using to support bring your own device. So I would see that as very much kind of the next generation of things that we'll be doing, particularly as we get more of the infrastructure in place that really supports that. So that would really allow us, for example, for contractors who today we give an ATF laptop, we could stop doing that and just say, look, you've already got a laptop, a desktop, or something that your employer has provided you, will allow you to access ATF information on that device in a secure fashion and therefore eliminate some of that device cost from our portfolio.
So last question, I wanted to change gears a little bit. Part of the digital strategy that's come out of the federal CIO's office has to do with website reform, and it seems as if that's something that's being dealt with at the agencies right now. What is ATF doing to trim down its web presence and to make its web presence more interactive with people?
Yeah, and one of the things that clearly we need to do is to make it a more responsive website. I mean, right now it's very kind of static. It has a lot of content that doesn't change very dynamically. And one of the things that we need to do is make that a much more modern set of web infrastructure, and much more flexible and much more personalizable for the particular users that are coming to us, whether they're a regulated industry, whether they're law enforcement, whether they're the public, and allow them to kind of get more readily to the information that they need as that particular interest group.
All right, well, excellent. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely.